He was in for a chest infection and he'd had insulin injected into him by Beverly Allitt. Timothy Hardwick was an 11-year-old boy with cerebral palsy. He was killed on the 5th of March 1991, the same way. Becky Phillips was 9 weeks old. She died at home 2 days later. It was originally believed to be cot death. That was on the 1st of April 1991. She was 9 weeks old. The fourth murder victim was 15-month-old. It was following an asthma attack on the 22nd of April. Her name was Claire Peck. All of these fatalities had the very same method. The child would be left alone, trusted with Beverly, and she would sound the alarm because the child had gone into some sort of cardiac arrest, some sort of seizure, and she'd harmed them all in exactly the same way. And it's not her first time. Not her first time at all. She was used to inflicting harm on herself. She was used to inflicting harm on others. But with all these fatalities, it was insulin. Insulin she'd stolen from work, and she'd actually stolen the key to the medicine cabinet, which will crop up later. I'm used to reading about the Yorkshire Ripper. I'm used to reading about psychopaths. I'm used to trying to get inside the mind of your Jeffrey Dahmers, your Ed Gaines, and people who have some sort of desire to kill based on anger, frustration, self-loathing, based on just the desire to cause harm on a set of people. People who have wronged them in the past, or people who represent their families, or people who represent their potential lovers. You know, I'm not used to trying to get inside the head of, or capable of getting inside the head of, this woman. And I don't think it's just a gender flip. I don't think it's just a case of, oh, I can't get inside her head, she's a woman. You know, who can? It's more a case of, she harms children.
Yes, it's only children.
No, my past is different. But you tell me, you're a woman. What would it take to prompt you? I know for a fact you've never laid your hands on our kids.
I don't think
I know that I've never laid my hands on our kids. What would prompt you to get to that point as a female where you said, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to take this needle and I'm going to kill this kid. What in your psyche goes, hey, you know what? This shit's a good idea. How do you get there?
That you can get there. Well, I don't think I can get there. Mm-hmm. Obviously, in Beverly Allitt's case, that was a totally different situation. But as a woman, as a mother, I don't think you can get there. There is no reason to harm an innocent child. So innocent and so young. We're talking about, 7 weeks, 9 weeks, 11 years. They're such young, innocent ages.
11 years and with cerebral palsy.
Yeah.
So they do all have something in common. They're all vulnerable.
Yeah.
None of them can really speak out.
No,
they
vulnerable.
Do have a psychological sort of meaning or a set format, if you like.
All vulnerable and can't do any harm to her.
Yeah, this is true.
I mean, I think regardless, for me, even if a child, we'll say a late teen, 15, 16, 17, even if they've done harm, I still couldn't do that to them.
Oh no, as somebody who grew up in care and did some really shady shit, if a 15 to 16-year-old comes at me with a knife, I'm slapping that bitch down. It's that simple. So I do have a fine line with it.
I'm on the other hand, I find it hard.
I know you go, they're under 18, they're a child, I'm not getting involved with this. No, you're 15, 16, you're old enough to know you come at me with a weapon, I'm knocking your ass out. There's no two ways about that.
There was no reason, no motive, there was no sort of family connection to any of those parents, any of those children's families, where she'd had a disagreement with them, a vengeance with them. There was absolutely no motive, no reason. This is all to do with her past, her upbringing.
I was listening to one of the podcasts recently, and for the life of me, I can't remember who it was. However, it was based on Harold Shipman. I'm sure it was. Yes, it was. I was listening to an episode about Harold Shipman, the doctor who killed hundreds.
Yeah.
And if I'm remembering this correctly, and my memory's pretty good, his mum died of cancer. And he watched the doctor as a child look after her and try and take care of her, and for all intents and purposes made her better for a good period of time before she actually died. And I understand that guy more than I understand this woman. So I don't agree with his ways, but I can see how he got there. He watched his mum getting iller and iller and iller. He watched this doctor try and save her, and maybe somewhere in his mind he walked the lines and he went, you know what? By killing my mum, by her dying at the hands of this doctor, he saved her from all this pain. I don't agree with it. I understand that there is no logic behind that thought process, but I also understand that there is a thin line where this guy could have walked it and gone, you know what? I'm going to save all these old people from all the pain they're going to witness. I'm going to save the children and the families of all these older people by killing them. I don't agree with it. It's completely barmy army. It's ridiculous. But I understand how he got there. This person, I don't understand how they got there. And that's what intrigues me so much about this one, is there is no time in my life I can ever, and I can see me doing some push to some horrible limits, I can't see me ever getting to the point where I went, I'm going to inject this child, I'm going to kill them.
Yeah, I wonder what the first thought was, in the sense of going, hey, I'm going to steal that key, I'm going to take that insulin, and I'm going to do this to that child. What was the first thought? What made her do it? What triggered that?
She said later on, when she was living, she lost her job because they couldn't convict her, but they couldn't trust her there either. So she lost her job. I don't know if she was dismissed or they just said, we'd rather you weren't here, this is under investigation. But she lost her job and she went to live with friends. And if I remember rightly, the investigation wasn't concluded for something like nearly a year. I don't know the exact period, but it was a good chunk of time.
I think it was in like 93 that she was trialled, so
and then
it
that's
was a good
like, what, 2 years?
couple of years after. So,
and she was living with this couple and a child, a little boy, and a dog. Because I remember reading another article where it said she'd poisoned the dog and the dog was having sickness, which is one of those things you generally get with a serial killer. Usually they'd start off on animals or self-harming and then they'd progress and it'd get worse and worse and worse till eventually you're killing somebody. And she'd poisoned this little boy. And I can't remember his name, but the little boy had reported it.
I don't know how old he was.
He'd gone to the hospital and said, she gave me this drink and it tasted really funny. And that was it.
Glass of orange, wasn't it? And they went out and he collapsed when they was out.
Yeah. And when she was questioned on it, she said it was a poltergeist. All the funny things that have been happening around the home are due to poltergeist activity. I don't agree. It's due to her being off her rock box. But is it possible in her head that she believed there was something causing these problems? I don't think she was blacking out, but it does then raise the question, why has she only mentioned the one time, yes, these things happened, but I don't want to talk about them? She's never otherwise confirmed, yes, I stabbed these kids with a needle, yes, I wanted to kill them. She admitted it, she got convicted of it, they caught her sort of red-handed, if you like, they had all the information required, but she's never gone to full lengths of discussing it. Is it possible that there is some sort of I am cursed element to it?
I think it's possible that people have mental illnesses that can cause them to believe that they are being possessed or controlled by somebody else. But I don't believe, and obviously there is a split personality disorder, but I don't believe somebody like her, who seemed to go into work one day and be chirpy with the parents and then kill the child or attempt to kill their child and then want to support them and then can go home about her normal daily life.
Yeah, I agree with you. And yeah, you know what? Neither do I. Because generally speaking, they don't have that ability. But there is a dynamic of people that do. Psychopaths, they're able to look you in the eye and tell you all of the things that you want to hear and all of the things you're going to love and enjoy, and all your feelings are justified. And at the very same breath, they're capable of putting a piece of iron rod straight through your chest without a care in the world. It is really, really strange.
I still think she had full control and knew what she was doing. I don't think it was out of her control, because she couldn't carry on through it straight afterwards and go and alert, other nurses and other doctors literally within that minute or two of her doing that and saying, hey, this child's gone into cardiac arrest.
Yeah, because in some instances it literally was the child had had an issue with her that she'd caused, and then going back to the documentary, they had two doctors and it was like head of admin or something having a conversation, and she knew about this conversation where they were investigating what could potentially be the cause of all these issues. And during the meeting she raised the alarm again where she'd injected this child, another time, and everyone came running. So she was with it enough to put the pieces together and go, hey, you know what? I'm going to get caught at this rate. I need a distraction. What's the only distraction I know? Kill the kid. Unbelievable.
I don't think she killed them to cover up what she was doing. I think she intended to kill them, just like the other victims that survived. I think she intended to kill them.
In that instance where they were having the meeting, I think she intended to kill the child the first time, but when it didn't succeed, when it didn't happen, I think during the meeting, she was aware the meeting was going on. The only reason she had another pop at him was because she wanted the meeting to be over. She didn't want that sort of negative attention, because if her world comes crumbling down, that's it, game over. And that's what she's living for. That's her goal. Not to be being the best, like the majority of these guys. They want to be seen. They want the notoriety of it. Hers wasn't like that. It was more of seeing how far she could go without being caught, and that's concerning in itself.
Yeah.
But the scarier point is what I said earlier. She's smart enough to know that insanity is the best defense. She's smart enough to go, oh, God was telling me to kill these children. Oh, it was a voice inside my head. Oh, you know what? I had these terrible feelings, especially with her medical knowledge. She could have easily said, I blacked out. I don't remember a thing. I don't know what you're talking about. She could have put on a different voice. She could have acted in a different way. She was medically trained. She could have come up with any number of scenarios. She could have said, hey, I'm hallucinating.
Yeah, she could have made plenty of excuses.
But she didn't. She just went, yeah, you got me. That's it. Which says she's more normal than the average.
Control of what she was doing.
Yeah, the average psychopath, the average person who would pretend. Take my father. Take Wenzel. He literally went down that road of, I don't remember anything. I was really angry at the time. I was under a lot of stress. Excuse after excuse after excuse. She didn't. She just went, yeah, you got me. Anyway, haven't I lost weight?
Yeah, it's like she didn't have any feelings.
She didn't care.
Any care, any feelings, any sympathy, any excitement. She wasn't happy about it. She wasn't sad about it. She was completely emotionless.
Okay, so you've got a list of survivors there?
Yeah.
What are you on, Wiki?
Or on Wiki, yeah.
Okay, cool.
So Kaylee Desmond, who was 1 year old at the time, was admitted to the ward for a chest infection, something that's normally quite a simple issue that we can